take a look at writing some exponential functions if we're given just a couple of points on a graph. So for the first example, we're going to find a formula for an exponential function that passes through the points 0, 4 and 2, 64. Remember that exponential functions are of the form y is equal to a times b to the x. Okay, now in this case, a is given because a is actually the y-intercept. So we can substitute 4 for a, and then all we need to do is just try to find b, the growth or decay factor. Okay, so how to find b? We're given another point on the curve. And so this point 264 is of the form x comma y. And so we're going to just, in this formula, substitute 64 for y and 2 for x and solve for b. So that gives us 64 is equal to 4 times b squared. And we would divide both sides by 4, which gives us that 16 is equal to b squared. And then take the square root of each side. Okay, well typically when we take the square root of both sides in a quadratic equation, we end up with two answers. In this case, we would say b equals plus or minus 4. However, we know that b is always greater than 0, so b is just 4. And we'll substitute 4 for b, and we find that our equation is y equals a, which was 4, times b, which is also 4, to the x. For example 2, we're given the points 5, 4, and 8, 500, and asked to find an exponential function that passes through them. Okay, but notice the y-intercept is not given. So instead we're going to just try to model our equations in this form. So y is equal to a times b to the x. So I'll say the first point is of the form x1, y1, and the second is of the form x2, y2. And so we can get an equation 4 is equal to a times b to the 5th. And then another equation we could form that would have the same a and b values is 500 equals a times b to the 8th. And now we have a system of equations with two unknowns. Okay, so there's two equations, two unknowns. So we're going to solve the first equation for a, and then we'll substitute that expression into the second equation. Okay, so to do that, I would move b to the 5th, and since this is multiplication, we'll divide. So that gives us a is equal to 4 divided by b to the 5th. So we're going to substitute that expression in the second equation for a. Okay, so we find that 500 is equal to 4 over b to the 5th times b to the 8th. And when you simplify the powers of b to the 8th divided by b to the 5th is b to the 3rd. So 500 is equal to 4b cubed. And now we can easily solve this equation. So divide by 4, and that gives us 125 equals b cubed, and take the cube root of each side. And we find that b is equal to 5. Well, we can find a by referring back to an earlier expression. 4 divided by b to the 5th will produce a. Okay, and in this case, it's 4 divided by 5 to the 5th. Or 4 over 3125. Okay, now that we know a and b, we're going to write our equation of the form y equals a times b to the x. So y is equal to a, 4 over 3125, times b, 5 to the x.